Welcome to part 3 of the series where I covered the phases of project management from initiation all the way to closing a project. If you haven't already watched part 2 on the planning phase, would highly encourage you to check that out before watching this video, and I'll link it in the description below. Okay, so what is the executing phase? So the executing phase is all about taking action on the plans that you've been creating. This is the most exciting and arguably most stressful part of a project. During this time period, your teams are actively grinding and getting the work done, and your stakeholders are actively tracking and anticipating successful results. To walk you through the executing phase, I'd like to start with an example project and then go through some of the types of questions that I typically think about and the types of things that a project manager does during this phase. So in this scenario, let's picture that you are a project manager for a home construction company who is building a new house for a first-time family homeowner. In terms of the scope and the schedule that's been planned out already, you've already defined what the expected scope is. You're building a new home. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and for the schedule, the family is expecting completion of this home within 6 months. The family also expects all the standard furnishings, so the cabinets, the doors, light fixtures as well. All of that has already been defined. After you've defined the scope, you're now acquiring the resources that you've already planned out for how to tackle this project. So in this case scenario, you've already identified that 5 team members are needed in order to get this house built from the foundation up. You've identified the materials that are needed. So you've measured out the number of wooden beams that are needed, the number of nails, any types of technology as well, whether that's nail guns or that's planers. You start assembling your power team of 5 members to start building that house from the foundation up. For any resources that you were unable to acquire yourself, you then use your procurement plan and you start getting those procurements. So for this example, your company is not good with electricity. You don't have any electricians. So you find a well-known electrician and you contract them. You get the contract signed, and in the contract, the electrician is responsible for putting in all the electricity throughout the entire house. During this time period, you're actively tracking the cost and making sure that your budget is accounting for that. So from all the small items, such as the number of nails you use, the number of different tools you need, the raw materials, all the way to the physical labor and the amount of time that your contractor and your teams have spent on this. All of these need to be factored in to make sure that you have the budget for it. As your deliverables and as parts of the house start being built, you start doing these quality inspections to make sure that the house is functioning appropriately. So for any doors, for any types of cabinets, making sure that these doors and handles are actually functioning, making sure that the finishing's correct as well. For that third-party electrician that you contracted, you gotta make sure the lighting works as well. This is where you're utilizing that quality plan or checklist to make sure that you're testing out everything that you've already planned. Throughout the entire home building process, there may be risks that come up. For any types of risks, whether it comes to potentially running over budget, you're escalating those risks to the families, to the homeowner, to make sure that they're aware. If that third-party contractor, if that electrician has a delay in terms of getting the wiring done, you're actively using your risk mitigation plan to make sure that the timeline can still be hit. As the house is being put together, you are communicating any updates to the homeowners, your contracting teams as well. You're updating not only on all the successes and the progress, but also on any risks. This type of communication is almost as important as actually building the project, because if your stakeholders don't know what's going on, there might as well not be a project because they don't know if it's even happening. I hope this example was helpful. With this example project, you can kind of see what types of things a project manager will be looking at and responsible for throughout the executing phase. Any seasoned project manager will tell you nothing ever goes 100% according to plan. I don't know why the stars are aligned this way, but during the executing phase, you will most likely always run into some type of challenge. For example, despite defining and setting the expectation for what the scope is, your stakeholders, they may want to expand the scope completely. In this case, if that family wants a 5-bedroom house instead of a 2-bedroom and 2-bath that you already agreed on, how are you going to handle that change request? How are you going to push back if needed? Simple problems may actually turn out to be a lot more complex than you think. That simple electrical wiring that third-party contractor was supposed to complete in 1 week, it may end up taking 3 months because of faulty wiring or just the general layout being more complicated than what you expected. Tip number 1, all this goes to show that a plan is only good if you're ready to adapt it to fit any challenges. The reason why you're spending so much time in the previous phase, during the planning phase, is because You're trying to plan for not only the project to go as smoothly as possible, but you're also planning any risk mitigation strategies so that if the project does go awry, you have a plan in place to make sure you can get back on track. Tip number 2, be agile, be flexible, and be transparent as much as you can. It's always good to escalate risks as early as possible. Be as transparent as you can with your stakeholders and with your teams. For the good, for the bad, they should all be in the loop so that you are all on the same page. And last but not least, think about the impact of different types of solutions. Some factors to think about here are, in terms of time, how long will it take for the solution to be implemented? Is it a short-term solution or is it a long-term solution? How long will it take in order for you to use it? Think about scalability. Can this solution be standardized across many different projects? Is this something that you're willing to reuse? Think about the impact. Does the solution only help one person out, or does it help everyone who's impacted? And last but not least, think about maintenance. Do you need support teams to help take care of this in the long term? If so, is it really worth it? So that concludes the major steps of the executing phase of a project. This phase is very action-driven and time-sensitive as the project manager works to execute the project. All right, well, thanks for watching. Comment below your experiences with the executing phase of a project, and comment below if you have any questions. We'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.